Welcome to Empathy Stories, where every tale is a journey into resilience, redemption, and the power of determination. Today's story is one of triumph over prejudice, as we follow the incredible journey of Rachel Carter, a woman who turned humiliation into inspiration. Her powerful response will leave you rethinking what it means to rise above adversity. Let's begin. Rachel Carter awoke to the soft glow of sunlight spilling through her bedroom window. Her apartment in downtown Chicago was a reflection of her hard-earned success, sleek, modern, and meticulously organized. This wasn't the Rachel of 10 years ago, struggling to make ends meet in a world that often told her she didn't belong. No, this Rachel was a business powerhouse, a black woman who had carved out her place in the male-dominated tech consulting industry. But for all her accomplishments, she was no stranger to the barriers society continued to place in her path. As Rachel brewed her morning coffee, her calendar pinged with reminders of the busy day ahead. Meetings with potential investors, a critical client pitch, and a visit to a renowned electronics store to purchase new equipment for her expanding office. It was the kind of schedule that would overwhelm most. But for Rachel, it was a sign of progress. She smiled to herself, thinking about how far she'd come. Today, though, felt different. There was a buzz in the air, a sense that the universe was aligning in her favor. She dressed with the confidence befitting a CEO, a crisp white blouse, tailored black slacks, and her favorite pair of heels. As Rachel stepped out into the crisp Chicago morning, her mind raced with ideas and strategies. The hum of the city filled her ears, the honk of taxis, the chatter of pedestrians, the ever-present rhythm of life in a metropolis that never truly stopped moving. Her destination was a high-end electronics store nestled in the heart of Chicago's business district. This wasn't just any store. It was a hub for the latest in tech innovation, catering to the city's elite. Rachel had always admired the place from afar, but this was the first time she was walking through its grand doors with the intention of buying, not just browsing. It felt symbolic, almost poetic, a reminder of how far she had risen. She parked her car in the lot adjacent to the store, the gleaming glass facade reflecting the late morning sunlight. As she approached the entrance, Rachel's heart raced, not with nerves, but with pride. Purchasing state-of-the-art equipment for her growing business was a tangible testament to her hard work and resilience. She imagined the store's impeccably curated displays, the friendly sales associates ready to assist her. This was supposed to be an ordinary moment, but in her mind, it was a celebration of all she had achieved. That's when she saw him. The security guard stood firmly at the entrance. A tall, broad-shouldered man in his early 40s with a stone-faced expression. His presence wasn't unusual. High-end stores often had guards posted to maintain order. But as Rachel drew closer, she noticed the way his eyes narrowed, the subtle tightening of his jaw. She hesitated, her confident stride faltering as his body language shifted from neutral to defensive. "Excuse me, ma'am," he said, his voice cold and impersonal. He stepped into her path, blocking her from entering. Rachel blinked, confused. "Is there a problem?" she asked, keeping her tone polite but firm. "This store isn't for everyone," the guard replied, his words hanging in the air like a slap. For a moment, Rachel couldn't comprehend what she had just heard. Her mind raced, replaying his statement, searching for an explanation that didn't involve the one thing she feared it might. But as she glanced behind him, she saw other customers, mostly white, some casually dressed, others in business attire like her, walking in without issue. "Excuse me," she said again, this time with an edge in her voice. The guard crossed his arms, his gaze unyielding. "I'm going to have to ask you to leave," he said. "This isn't your kind of place." The word struck Rachel like a physical blow. She felt her stomach churn, anger and humiliation rising in equal measure. This wasn't the first time she had encountered prejudice, but the blatant nature of it left her momentarily stunned. The guard smirk told her everything she needed to know. This wasn't about policy or procedure. This was about her. Rachel squared her shoulders, refusing to let him see her falter. "Is there a manager I can speak to?" she demanded. The guard shrugged, his indifference infuriating. I don't think that'll change anything, he said. By now, a few passersby had stopped to watch the exchange, their curious glances adding to Rachel's discomfort. But no one intervened. No one challenged the guard or questioned his actions. Rachel's mind raced. She could have yelled, caused a scene, demanded justice in the moment. But she knew better. Her years in the business world had taught her the power of strategy, the importance of picking the right time and place to make a stand. Instead, she pulled out her phone, snapping a photo of the guard as he stood defiantly in her way. "This isn't over," she said, her voice steady despite the storm of emotions brewing inside her. Without another word, she turned and walked back to her car. The weight of what had just happened settled heavily on her shoulders. But it was accompanied by something else, determination. As Rachel drove away from the store, her hands gripped the steering wheel tightly. Her thoughts drifted to her daughter, Olivia, a bright and ambitious teenager who looked up to her as a role model. What kind of example would she be setting if she let this moment pass without action? What kind of future would Olivia inherit if people like this security guard were allowed to go unchecked? Rachel arrived home to find her husband, Daniel, waiting for her in the living room. He looked up from his laptop, immediately noticing the tension in her posture. "What's wrong?" he asked. Rachel recounted the incident, her voice calm but tinged with anger. When she finished, Daniel sat back, his expression one of both disbelief and frustration. "What are you going to do?" he asked. Rachel met his gaze, her resolve crystallizing in that moment. "I'm going to make sure he never does this to anyone else again," she said. "And I know exactly how I'm going to do it." A small, knowing smile tugged at the corners of Daniel's mouth. "You've got that look," he said. "What's your plan?" Rachel's eyes gleamed with determination. "I'm going to buy that store," she said simply. And with those words, the first steps of her bold plan began to take shape. Rachel Carter wasn't just going to fight back. She was going to rewrite the narrative entirely. Rachel Carter couldn't stop thinking about the moment she was turned away at the door of the electronics store. The security guard's smirk, his condescending tone, and the humiliation she felt replayed in her mind like a broken record. But Rachel wasn't the type to let anger control her. She turned it into determination. Sitting in her home office the morning after the incident, Rachel was already putting a plan into motion. The desk in her downtown Chicago apartment was cluttered with notebooks, files, and her ever-present laptop. Sunlight streamed through the bay windows, but she barely noticed. Her focus was razor-sharp. If she was going to address what had happened, she needed to do it on her terms, with a plan that not only set things right, but created a lasting impact. Rachel's first step was research. She opened her laptop and began digging into the electronics store. It wasn't just any high-end retailer. It was part of a chain with a long-standing reputation for catering to the city's elite. But this particular location had been struggling. Sales were down, and competition from online retailers had made survival difficult. She smiled to herself as she read through the financial reports she managed to find. The store's current owner, John Caldwell, seemed like a man who might be ready to sell if the right offer came along. For Rachel, this wasn't just about buying a business. It was about sending a message. She envisioned turning the store into something far more inclusive, a space where people of all backgrounds felt welcomed and valued. A symbol of progress in a city that often still struggled with systemic inequality. But before she could make her vision a reality, she needed the right team in her corner. Her first call was to Sarah Collins, a trusted real estate lawyer who had been with Rachel through several of her ventures. Sarah was sharp, meticulous, and one of the few people Rachel trusted implicitly. When Sarah picked up the phone, her voice was cheerful. "Rachel, what's the occasion? You sound like you're on a mission." "I am," Rachel replied, cutting straight to the point. "I want to buy the electronics store downtown, the one where I was refused entry yesterday. I need your help to make it happen." There was a brief pause on the other end of the line. "You're serious," Sarah said, more of a statement than a question. "Dead serious," Rachel affirmed. "This isn't just about me. It's about showing people that you can't treat others this way and get away with it. I want to buy the store, turn it around, and make it a hub for innovation and inclusivity." Sarah's voice shifted to a more professional tone. "I'll get started on the legal side. We'll need to research the current ownership and their willingness to sell. Do you have any idea what kind of offer you want to make? Not yet, but I'll figure it out. Rachel said, this is going to happen. Sarah, it has to. After ending the call, Rachel moved on to the next phase of her plan, funding. She wasn't naive about the financial challenges of purchasing a business, especially one in a prime downtown location. But she had built a reputation as a savvy entrepreneur, and she knew who to call for support. James Anderson was a venture capitalist who had backed Rachel's tech consulting startup during its early days. He was known for his keen eye for potential and his willingness to take risks on people who didn't fit the traditional mold. If anyone would understand the importance of this move, it was James. Rachel dialed his number, her fingers tapping anxiously on the edge of her desk as the phone rang. Rachel Carter. James answered, his voice warm and familiar. To what do I owe the pleasure? I've got an opportunity for you. Rachel began. Wasting no time, she explained the incident at the store, her vision for transforming it, and the research she'd done into its financial situation. When she finished, James let out a low whistle. You're not just looking to buy a store, he said. You're looking to make a statement. Exactly, Rachel replied. But I need your help. I'll need the capital to make a competitive offer, and I'll need it fast. I've never known you to come to me with anything less than a rock-solid plan. James said, I'm in. Let me know what you need. Hanging up the phone, Rachel felt a surge of adrenaline. With Sarah's legal expertise and James's financial backing, she had the two key pieces of her plan in place. But she knew this wasn't going to be easy. She had to act quickly and strategically to ensure the deal went through without complications. As Rachel worked late into the night, she was joined by her 14-year-old daughter, Olivia. The teenager walked into the room, her expression curious but concerned. Mom, Olivia said, sitting down beside her. Are you okay? You've been working nonstop since yesterday. Rachel hesitated for a moment, then closed her laptop. I'm fine. Liv, I'm just trying to make something right. Olivia frowned. Is this about what happened at the store? Rachel nodded. Yes. I'm not going to let what happened go unanswered. But it's not just about me. It's about making sure things like that don't happen to anyone else. Olivia's face lit up with determination. What can I do to help? Rachel smiled, her heart swelling with pride. Just keep being who you are. Liv, stay focused. Stay strong. And never let anyone tell you that you don't belong. The conversation with Olivia reinforced Rachel's resolve. This wasn't just about her. It was about creating a future where young girls like Olivia could grow up without facing the same barriers and prejudices Rachel had endured. By the end of the week, Rachel had everything she needed to make her move. Sarah had confirmed that the store's owner, John Caldwell, was indeed open to selling, though he wasn't advertising it publicly. James had secured the funds necessary for a competitive offer. Now, all that remained was the negotiation. Rachel leaned back in her chair, taking a deep breath. The path ahead wouldn't be easy, but she was ready. This wasn't just about buying a store. It was about rewriting the rules and proving that no one could keep her, or anyone like her, from stepping through the door. The following week, Rachel Carter stood in front of a sleek glass building in Chicago's bustling downtown district. This was it, the office of John Caldwell, the owner of the electronics store that had denied her entry. She clutched her folder tightly, containing every piece of research and documentation she'd painstakingly gathered over the last several days. Rachel wasn't just here to make an offer. She was here to make a statement. The receptionist led Rachel to a conference room adorned with minimalist decor and an air of subdued affluence. As she stepped in, her gaze immediately landed on Caldwell, an older man in his late 60s with a sharp suit and a demeanor that exuded experience. His advisors flanked him, their expressions polite but guarded. Rachel recognized this dynamic well. They didn't expect much from her. Caldwell rose and extended his hand. Ms. Carter, thank you for coming. I understand you're interested in my store. I have to admit, this is a bit unusual. Rachel shook his hand firmly. Thank you for meeting me. Mr. Caldwell, I assure you, my interest is serious. As they took their seats, Rachel felt the familiar flicker of nerves, an unavoidable part of the game. But she wasn't about to let them rattle her. She had prepared meticulously, and this was her moment to take control of the narrative. Caldwell leaned back in his chair, his expression carefully neutral. I've heard you're a successful businesswoman. Tell me, why this store? And why now? Rachel met his gaze directly. Because this store has potential. Mr. Caldwell. It has history, a recognizable brand, and a prime location. But more than that, I see an opportunity to transform it into something much greater. Right now, the store is struggling to compete in a changing market. Online retailers are dominating, and customers are seeking more than just products. They want experiences. I can offer them that. One of Caldwell's advisors spoke up. Transforming a store isn't as simple as it sounds. Do you have a concrete plan in place? Rachel nodded, sliding a document across the table. This is a detailed strategy I've developed. It includes a complete rebranding of the store, turning it into a tech hub that not only sells products but also offers workshops, demonstrations, and community events. The focus will be on inclusivity, innovation, and customer engagement. It won't just be a store, it'll be a destination. Caldwell raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued. That's ambitious, but it sounds expensive. What makes you think it'll work? Rachel's voice didn't waver. Because I've done it before. I've built a successful tech consulting company from the ground up. I know how to navigate challenges, adapt to changing markets, and connect with people. And I have the financial backing to make this happen. My offer reflects not just the current value of the store, but also its untapped potential. She leaned forward slightly, her tone steady but impassioned. This isn't just about business for me, Mr. Caldwell. It's about creating something meaningful. This store has the chance to lead by example, to show that inclusivity and innovation aren't just buzzwords, they're good business. The room fell silent as Caldwell studied her. Rachel could see the gears turning in his mind, weighing the risks against the rewards. Finally, he spoke. Your vision is compelling, Ms. Carter, and I respect your determination. Let's talk numbers. Rachel spent the next hour negotiating with Caldwell and his team. She laid out her financial offer, countered their concerns with data, and presented her plans with unwavering confidence. By the time the meeting ended, she had secured a tentative agreement. Caldwell's team would review her offer and get back to her within the week. As Rachel left the building, she felt a surge of relief and exhilaration. The meeting had gone better than she had hoped, but she knew the battle wasn't over yet. Deals like this were rarely straightforward, and she couldn't afford to let her guard down. Back at her home office, Rachel recounted the meeting to her lawyer, Sarah Collins. Over a video call, Sarah listened intently, nodding as Rachel explained the terms they had discussed. It sounds like you've made a strong impression, Sarah said, but we need to be prepared for any last-minute changes or counteroffers. I'll keep an eye on their response. Thanks, Sarah, Rachel replied. I have a feeling this is going to move quickly. Let me know as soon as you hear anything. After the call, Rachel sat back in her chair, her mind racing. The store was within her grasp, but the next steps would require just as much focus and determination as the negotiations. She couldn't just buy the store, she had to hit the ground running and execute her vision flawlessly. That evening, Rachel shared the news with her husband, Daniel, and her daughter, Olivia. Over dinner, Olivia's eyes lit up as Rachel described the meeting, and Daniel gave her an encouraging smile. I knew you'd make it happen. Daniel said, what's the next step? Waiting for their final decision. Rachel replied, but I'm ready. As soon as the deal is finalized, I'm going to start the transformation. Olivia grinned. You're going to crush it. Mom, that store doesn't know what's coming. Rachel chuckled, grateful for her family's unwavering support. But beneath her smile, she felt the weight of responsibility. This wasn't just about proving herself or addressing the humiliation she'd faced. It was about creating something that mattered, something that could inspire others and pave the way for a more inclusive future. As Rachel cleared the table and prepared for another late night of work, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. The road ahead would be challenging, but she was ready for it. She wasn't just buying a store, she was building a legacy. Rachel Carter sat in her home office, staring at her laptop screen. The email from Sarah Collins, her trusted lawyer, had just arrived. The subject line, "Update, Caldwell negotiations," made her heart race. As she opened the email and scanned its contents, her chest tightened with a mix of nerves and excitement. John Caldwell and his team had tentatively agreed to her terms, pending minor revisions. The message was clear. Rachel was one step closer to owning the electronics store that had denied her entry. For a moment, she let herself breathe. She had spent countless late nights preparing for this, strategizing every detail of her plan. This was more than just a business deal. It was her opportunity to rewrite a narrative that had been dictated to her for far too long. But Rachel knew the real work was just beginning. She picked up the phone and dialed James Anderson, the venture capitalist who had been instrumental in backing her vision. James answered quickly, his familiar deep voice steady. "Rachel, what's the latest?" "They're close to accepting," she said, her voice firm but laced with anticipation. "Sarah says it's all but done. They just need confirmation on a few details. But I'm ready to move forward." "Good," James replied. "We'll make sure the funding is ready to go when the time comes. Anything else you need from me?" "For now, just stay on standby," Rachel said. "Once the paperwork is signed, I'll need to hit the ground running." "You got this, Rachel," James said, confidence evident in his tone. "Let me know when the ink is dry." With the conversation concluded, Rachel dove back into her preparations. She reviewed her proposal again, double-checked the financial details, and reread Sarah's email to ensure she hadn't missed anything. By the time she closed her laptop for the night, the city skyline outside her window had turned into a sea of glittering lights. The next morning, Rachel walked into John Caldwell's office for the final negotiation. The sleek, glass-walled space exuded power and authority. But Rachel wasn't intimidated. Dressed impeccably in a tailored black suit, she exuded the confidence of a woman who had earned her place at the table. Caldwell, a tall man in his late 60s with sharp features and a composed demeanor, greeted her with a polite nod. His advisors sat on either side of him, their expressions neutral but watchful. Rachel shook Caldwell's hand firmly before taking her seat. "Ms. Carter, thank you for coming," Caldwell began. "I've reviewed your proposal, and I must say, it's quite compelling, but I'd like to understand more about why you're so interested in this particular store." Rachel met his gaze, her voice calm and deliberate. "This store has untapped potential. Its location, brand recognition, and reputation give it a strong foundation. But it's been underperforming because it hasn't adapted to the changing market. I see an opportunity to transform it, not just into a profitable business, but into a space that represents progress and innovation." One of Caldwell's advisors leaned forward. "Transformation isn't cheap. What makes you confident this vision will succeed?" Rachel slid a document across the table. "I've outlined my strategy here. The store will be rebranded as a tech hub, offering workshops, demonstrations, and community events in addition to selling high-end products. This will attract a broader, more engaged customer base. I've built a successful tech consulting company from scratch by understanding market trends and delivering what people need. I can do the same here." Caldwell studied the document, his expression thoughtful. After a long pause, he said, "Your vision is ambitious, but I see the value in it. Let's talk numbers." Rachel had anticipated this moment. She presented her financial offer with confidence, countered questions with facts, and addressed concerns with well-researched data. The negotiation was intense but professional, with Rachel refusing to back down on key points. By the end of the meeting, Caldwell extended his hand once again. "Ms. Carter, I believe we have a deal. Congratulations." Rachel shook his hand, a wave of relief washing over her. "Thank you, Mr. Caldwell. I won't let you down." As she left the office, the realization hit her. She had done it. The store was hers. The next day, Rachel arrived at the electronics store not as a customer, but as its new owner. The morning sun glinted off the glass facade as she approached the entrance, where the same security guard, Mike Reynolds, stood. His face registered shock when he saw her. Rachel's voice was calm but firm as she addressed him. "Good morning. I'm Rachel Carter, the new owner of this store. I believe we've met before." Mike's expression shifted to one of nervousness. Good morning, ma'am, he stammered. Rachel nodded. Your services are no longer required. Please collect your belongings and leave. For a moment, Mike looked like he might protest, but Rachel's composed demeanor left no room for debate. He nodded, muttered an apology, and walked away. Rachel didn't watch him go. Her focus was on what lay ahead. Inside the store, Rachel was greeted by Carl Thompson, the store manager, and his team. Carl, a middle-aged man with a cautious smile, extended his hand. Ms. Carter, welcome. We're looking forward to hearing your plans. Rachel addressed the group with the same confidence she had shown during her negotiations. Thank you, Carl. I'm excited to work with all of you. This store has incredible potential, and together, we're going to unlock it. She spent the rest of the day meeting with the management team, walking through the store, and taking notes on what needed to change. The sterile, impersonal atmosphere didn't align with her vision. She imagined vibrant displays, interactive spaces, and a welcoming energy that reflected her mission. By the time Rachel left the store, the sun was setting, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. She stood outside for a moment, looking at the building that had once symbolized exclusion and now represented her triumph. This was just the beginning, but Rachel was ready. She wasn't just running a business, she was rewriting the rules. Rachel Carter didn't waste a moment after securing ownership of the electronics store. Within a week, the first steps of her transformation plan were in motion. The sterile, unwelcoming atmosphere of the store was the first to go. She hired a design team to revamp the interior, introducing warm lighting, comfortable seating areas, and interactive tech displays where customers could experience the latest innovations firsthand. But Rachel's vision wasn't just about aesthetics. She knew that for the store to succeed, it needed a soul, a purpose that resonated with the community. She reached out to local tech entrepreneurs and influencers, inviting them to host workshops and demonstrations at the store. The idea was to create a hub where technology, creativity, and collaboration could thrive. Customers wouldn't just shop here, they'd learn, connect, and be inspired. The store's rebranding extended beyond its physical space. Rachel worked closely with her team to overhaul its customer service philosophy. This isn't just about selling products, she told them during a staff meeting. It's about creating an experience, about making every person who walks through those doors feel valued. Her emphasis on inclusivity also shaped her hiring practices. Rachel partnered with local organizations to recruit young talent from underrepresented communities, offering them opportunities to gain experience in the tech industry. She wanted her staff to reflect the diversity of the city and to serve as a testament to what was possible when people were given a chance. 6 months later, the store was ready for its grand reopening. The sleek new design, coupled with Rachel's innovative programming, had generated buzz throughout the city. On a bright Saturday morning, a diverse crowd gathered outside the store, eager to see the transformation. Rachel stood at the entrance, greeting customers as they walked in. The atmosphere inside was electric. Families marveled at the interactive displays. Tech enthusiasts explored cutting-edge gadgets, and young entrepreneurs networked in the newly created co-working space. In the back of the store, the Innovation Lab buzzed with activity as teens worked on coding projects and learned about robotics. One moment stood out to Rachel. She noticed a young girl in the lab, no older than 14, typing furiously on a laptop. The girl's focus reminded Rachel of herself at that age, driven, curious, and full of potential. Rachel approached her quietly. "What are you working on?" Rachel asked with a warm smile. The girl looked up, her eyes lighting up. "I'm building an app," she said shyly. "It's for organizing study groups at school." Rachel was impressed. "That's incredible. Keep at it. You're going to do amazing things." As Rachel walked away, she felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Moments like this were the reason she had fought so hard. This wasn't just a store, it was a space where futures were being shaped. Later in the day, Rachel spotted a face in the crowd that made her pause. Standing near the entrance, looking uncertain, was Mike Reynolds, the security guard who had denied her entry months ago. He was out of uniform, and his once confident demeanor had been replaced with visible unease. Rachel considered walking past him, but something made her stop. Taking a deep breath, she approached him. "Hello, Mike," she said calmly. He looked up, startled. "Miss Carter," he said, his voice hesitant. "I didn't expect to see you." Rachel raised an eyebrow. "This is my store now. You'll see me here often." Mike nodded, avoiding her gaze. "I just wanted to say, I'm sorry for how I treated you. It was wrong, and I've had a lot of time to think about it." Rachel studied him for a moment. His apology didn't erase what had happened, but she saw sincerity in his eyes. "Thank you," she said. "What matters now is what you do going forward. Make better choices." Mike nodded again, visibly relieved. "I will. And congratulations. You've done something incredible here." Rachel smiled faintly. "Thank you. Take care, Mike." As he walked away, Rachel felt a sense of closure. The encounter wasn't about forgiveness, it was about growth and the opportunity for change. As the day wound down, Rachel gathered her management team in the conference room to review the grand reopening. Carl Thompson, the store manager, was beaming. "We had record numbers today," he said. "People love the changes. And the workshops were a hit." Maya Green, the assistant manager, chimed in. "Social media is blowing up. People are tagging us and saying how much they love the new vibe." Even Trevor Hudson, the skeptical head of sales, looked impressed. "I'll admit, I have my doubts, but this has been great for business. Customers are engaged in a way I've never seen before." Rachel nodded, her heart swelling with pride. "This is just the beginning," she said. "We're not just running a store, we're creating something bigger. A space where people feel valued, where ideas are born, and where everyone belongs." That evening, Rachel sat at home with her husband, Daniel, and her daughter, Olivia. The glow of success was evident in her expression as she recounted the day's events. "I'm so proud of you," Daniel said, wrapping an arm around her. "You've turned this into something amazing." Olivia grinned. "You showed them. Mom, you didn't just prove them wrong. You made a difference." Rachel smiled, leaning back against the couch. She had transformed a moment of humiliation into a story of triumph, building a legacy that would outlast her. "But this was just the start. There's still more to do," she said softly. "But today, we showed what's possible when you refuse to let others define your worth." As the night settled in, Rachel felt a profound sense of peace. The store had become more than she ever imagined, a beacon of inclusivity, innovation, and hope, and she was ready to keep building, one step at a time. Thank you for watching today's story on Empathy Stories. Rachel Carter's journey is a testament to perseverance and the power of standing up for what's right. If her story moved you, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring tales of overcoming life's challenges. Together, let's keep celebrating the human spirit and the impact one person can make. See you next time.